Hi, I'm Marty Powell with Global Finishing Solutions. I'm here at the AWFSF show. At the show I spoke about spray booth safety and how that pertains to quality. The 5 main points of the speech are the 5 main causes of fires in a spray booth and how by eliminating those 5 causes you can actually have a better quality in your finish. When we speak about safety in a spray booth and a dust collection system, we talk about fire safety, but keeping that facility safe also keeps your quality finish up. When we talk about quality, we talk about your product going through the booth one time, not being reworked time after time to finally be able to ship it. So the 5 major causes that we talked about are in a spray booth, people using a grinding or spark producing device too close to the booth, overspray buildup causing spontaneous combustion or a friction fire, ungrounded objects in a booth, static electricity is a major cause of fire. And we go through all the various points of spray booth safety and also talk about dust collection safety, because in dust collection you don't normally just get a fire, you get an explosion. And so we want to eliminate all those causes. And those are the main points of the speech and how it pertains to your quality. So by keeping your factory safe and the booth and the dust booth safe, it also leads to higher quality and less rework of your product. Well, when I go through factories, and go through factories every day, every week, there's many things that we spot and see. The main thing that we run into is ungrounded objects. Static electricity is a huge cause of problems, mainly in the wintertime. But spraying coatings, grinding, sanding, all create static electricity. And it just takes one spark, one discharge of static electricity. We call that a source of ignition. And once that happens, you have major problems. Sometimes you can put out the fire quickly, but in many cases it's very difficult to do so, especially with some of the coatings that we use. Well, to prevent static discharge problems, people have to be properly clothed in clothing that does not generate static electricity. The equipment must all be grounded to a good earth ground. The booth must be grounded. And the painters must have their hands touching the spray application device. That device is grounded and therefore keeps the operator neutral and keeps the static buildup. So static discharge, everything must be grounded, everything is clipped together so everything stays grounded. You can't leave foreign objects in a booth because they sit there and build up a capacitance, and at the wrong moment they discharge to a grounded object. And should that static discharge go through the vapor or the dust, you can get a source of ignition. In dust collection booths, we call it a detonation or an explosion, and in a spray booth, you'll have a flash fire. And it's critical that everything is grounded, including the operator, and you should check that constantly. As a matter of fact, the new codes for 2011, that's one of the big changes they put in, was keeping things grounded. The new inspectors will be checking for static electricity and
Marty,
grounded
what's the
objects.
second kind of problem that you see that you should warn the attendees about?
Well, the second biggest problem that I run into is overspray buildup. It's the number 2 cause of fires in a spray booth operation. The overspray, which are the deposits that don't make it onto your product, go into the filters. If the filters aren't kept clean, then that particles will go through and collect on your fan and your stack. And after a certain period of time, you'll actually build up a friction fire. The bearings of the fan overheat and burst into flame because the fan can't spin because it's grinding against overspray. Or you actually, as I like to tell guys, even the caveman figured out if you rub 2 things together long enough, you'll get a fire. And that's what happens in these spray booth stacks. The fan rubs against the overspray and creates heat and causes ignition. And with coatings used in wood finishing, it's very, very critical. Nitrocellulose lacquer and lacquers are extremely flammable. And once they catch on fire, they're almost impossible to put out. So that's one of the major things we look at, is keeping your booth clean. If you keep the filters clean and the fan clean, then the booth can function. And where that relates to quality is you build up overspray in your filters on the fan, nothing's working right, and now you have deposits not being removed from the booth and settling back on your finished product. So not only is it a fire hazard, but it's directly related to the quality of your finish. Well, in both dust collection and finishing, you get a deposit buildup. And, well, let me think about that, how I would say that.
Go ahead and say another area or a third area to start this one off.
Another area of quality and safety is, glad you can edit this thing.
Absolutely.
My goodness, I just drew a blank. Number one is static. Number two is material buildup. One of the third most common causes of a problem is mixing of deposits. So everything that we get into a factory nowadays has an MSDS sheet, a material safety data sheet that tells you what's in this material and what to watch out for. When you mix 5 or 6 of these components together in a booth, there is no safety data sheet that will tell you what will happen. In a dust collection booth, you get exothermic reaction, which these materials start reacting together, start building heat, and can actually burst into flame. In a spray booth, you would spray 2 or 3 different materials, and when they deposit on the filters, they start reacting, and the next thing you know, it bursts into flame. So understand the materials that you have in your plant, and make sure that you test those. When we sell a dust collection booth nowadays, we have the customer send his dust out for a test, and 70% of all dust are combustible. In a spray finishing system, all the deposits are combustible. Water-based coatings, solvent-based coatings, so you must pay attention to what your materials are and keep it clean. And I would say the fourth leading thing that I run into is people never know the codes. They don't know what they should be looking for. They need to log on to the NFPA.org website and check out the National Fire Protection Association codes. There's 4 or 5 different codes for dust collection depending upon your process. There's the NFPA 33, which I work with consistently, that talks about spraying of flammable applications. NFPA 86, which deals with ovens and the proper design. And then on our website, we also have things at Global Finishing, the Finishing Academy, and all these tips on how to keep your booth safe, keep it clean, and not burn your factory down. And those are the major causes. If you'd like more information, you can go to globalfinishing.com. Go to our Finishing Academy. We're very big on safety and quality. As the leader in spray booth technology, we have people involved with the NFPA. I speak on the NFPA. And understand one other thing. There's the International Fire Codes, Building Codes, and Mechanical Codes. Those all reference the NFPA standards for safety. So the National Fire Protection Association is not the codes. It is the standards that you should operate by that the codes inspectors will enforce. So that's where you would get your information, nfpa.org or globalfinishing.com.